Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new malicious compliance content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
First one is titled, "You don't want me to serve you? No problem." So for a backstory, I work in a bakery at a medium-sized grocery store. Apart from baking and slicing and packaging breads, pies, and other pastries, I also have to clean all the dishes and clean my department floors when I work the closing shifts. A mid-shift worker also helps with the responsibilities until their shift ends, along with the department manager, who usually leaves a couple hours after my shift starts. A few weeks ago, when I was working, I came from the back where we wash our dishes to help this lady who was standing near our counter by the bread slicer with an attitude. I'm assuming she was mad she had to wait because the mid-shift worker was busy with another customer. I came over and she tossed the bread on the counter and just said, "Slice this." Rough day, no problem. I just want to get her out of here, so politely say yes ma'am, and I grab a pair of gloves and start to put them on. "You're not going to wash your hands?" lady asked. "Oh no ma'am, I already washed them before I came out here." "Bullcrap. I don't want you to touch my bread with those nasty hands. I mean, I can wash them again if you want." "You know what? Don't bother." She then goes to another department and asks for our department manager. She starts yelling at him in front of the bakery and other people, pointing at me saying that I don't wash my hands and that I'm disgusting, and ends up calling me a cracker. How outdated. My manager tries to calm her down and ends up washing his hands and cutting her bread to make her leave. I explain the situation to my manager, and he basically says next time just wash my hands by one of our sinks next to our front counter. But if she comes back and tries causing a scene again, to let him know, and he will tell her to leave. After talking to the store manager, he also told me the same thing. Fast forward to yesterday. Lady comes back later towards closing time, where both the mid-shift and department manager are both gone. So I'm the only one working in the bakery. She's holding bread to be sliced again and hasn't noticed it's me when she asked me to slice her bread. Until I reach out my hand to get the bread, she stops and said, "No, you're not helping me," with a rude look on her face. I immediately smile and say, "No worries. Have a nice night." And I walked to help another lady and then walked in the back to clean dishes. A few minutes later, I hear yelling, "Excuse me." So I walk back up and yes ma'am. She gives me another rude look and says, "Is no one going to help me?" "No ma'am. I'm the only one in the bakery." "Then wash your ducking hands and slice my bread." "No ma'am, I'm not serving you." "I'm sorry. Have a nice night." "You are slicing my ducking bread. You have to." "No ma'am, you told me not to serve you. Have a nice night." And I walked in the back to clean more dishes. Lady ends up throwing her bread on the ground, and my store manager comes and tells her she needs to leave for causing a scene and threatens to call the police if she doesn't leave. So lady leaves, but not without more screaming and naming calling, but she leaves. I tell my store manager what happened, and he told me I should have handled it better, and that I instigated her to get angry and to get a hold of him if that ever happened again. Oh, whatever, it felt great. Next one is titled, "Do you want a pretty lawn or for me to follow your rules?" I live in a small town with various rules about the state of one's yard. My yard is rather sizable, and I have a push mower. I have divided the yard into 3 major areas. The apple tree, a 50x 45 FT downhill area with an old apple tree in the center and thick forest on 2 sides. The front, the obvious one, between the house and the road. 85x 35 FT space and mostly flat. The north field, a very uneven area with several trees that is 50x 100 FT with that same thick forest mentioned above across the far side. This is important for later. Now the town likes to remind me about keeping it short and neat at the threat of a $100 fine, demanding it be cut weekly despite the weather, aside from winter. These demands were borderline harassment, constantly sending people to check on if it's been cut and how much of it was done, even manually putting letters of notice in my mailbox. I have back problems involving nerve damage that prevents me from standing too long, so getting it all in one go is difficult, so I would split the work into several days. They didn't like this and demanded it be done in a single day or take the fine. I am checking into it, and renting a riding mower or paying someone else to do it would still result in $100. So no matter how I handle it, I'm still out the $100. So I just risked it and kept splitting the work into 2 days and now rarely 3. The town council started sending me pictures of what needs cut and even added another 80-foot stretch of the forest to that list. Absurd. Angry at the extra workload, when I was already having trouble keeping up with their demands, I made one of my own. I wanted the city to send out the city planning coordinator to show me where my property line was and what exactly was my responsibility. I was positive they were hounding me about something that wasn't even mine. He brought out maps and measurement tools and showed me a 200 x 100 ft space and marked it out. This outlined the front and the north field, including the added space. I learned, after it was pointed out in the pictures, that I've been cutting the apple tree area for 7 years for nothing. It wasn't in the images and was outside the property line. Order up. 1 serving of malicious compliance. Instead of devoting time to dealing with the hill of the apple tree, I focused more on the north field. So now, the city, and anyone getting off the highway, gets to see a horribly overgrown plot with a dead tree first thing, whereas the part no one can see is neat and tidy. As for the extra 80-foot space of the forest, the property behind us had been keeping it up, and it's just 3 simple passes, but they understand as much as we do that the forest take what the forest wants. This added space won't last long. I let this go all summer, and they only harassed me about it one more time since I started ignoring the apple tree area. We had also recently found out this wasn't all on behalf of the whole city council, but one angry member who doesn't like my landlord and thought annoying us about it would annoy him. Next one is titled, "I'd be happy to cancel your account." You call Dish Network customer service and get so mad at the agent that you scream, "I want to cancel my account," and they transfer you to another representative. I used to be that guy. It's not as fun of a job as one might expect, what with 99% of the callers screaming at you for any number of reasons that you had no control over. So you had to find a way to keep yourself sane. I stayed near or at the top of the stats leaderboard for customers, saved so I could pull crap like this. One day, a representative had a caller who only gave him enough information to pull up his account and told him that he wanted to cancel his account. So I pulled up the customer's account and saw he'd been a customer for 8+ years, which meant he was practically VIP. But I pulled up his billing info and saw that for at least the previous 2 years, oldest records I had access to, he'd been receiving $25 off his bill every month. The amount you could discount the bill also determined how long the discount lasted. $25 only went for 6 months, so he had called at least 4 times before this demanding to cancel his account until he got his $25 off. Now, I'm a man of principle, and I don't believe a person should get rewarded for being a crappy person. So I accept the transfer, and this guy came on the phone with the TV playing in the background and being a jerk, but also sounding almost bored with the game and says, "Cancel my account." Dish approved response, "I'm sorry to hear you want to cancel your account. Can I ask why you're thinking of leaving? Get a reason, make 2 offers to keep them around, then cancel if they still aren't willing to stick around." My response, "I'd be happy to cancel your account." Clicked a couple buttons and his TV went absolutely silent. Then I proceeded to read the script they give us on how to return the equipment until he shouted over me asking what I just did. "I canceled your account per your request, sir. The boxes will arrive in 7 to 10 business days." Again, dude's outraged, demanding I turn his TV back on. "I'm sorry, sir. I don't understand. Do you want me to cancel your account or not? Because I can turn it back on, but I won't give you a discount off your bill, and I'll be leaving clear notes for any future representatives telling them not to give you a discount either. So would you like me to reactivate your account, or would you rather I send out the boxes?" As I expected, he told me to turn it back on. At the end, he tried again to get some sort of discount, which I refused, and offered to downgrade his account if he wanted to save money, which he refused and hung up in frustration. If I could have kept tabs on him, I would have, because I was curious if anyone would reapply the discount or if he would leave. A bonus is I still had a few more confirmations to go through before the account was actually considered canceled, so the call counted as a save for my stats. Edit. And yes, I intentionally acted like a jerk, but simply because if the last person acted like a jerk, or the one before that, or the one before that, or the one before that, then I wouldn't have been on that call. Somebody needed to do it, so it was me. Next one is titled, "Are you sure you want me to take part in this go-kart race?" "Sure thing, boss." A few years back, I started my first job as a mechanic and was informed of a mandatory monthly kart race in the local track, which was promoted by my boss and owner of the company. He didn't care if you enjoyed it or not. He booked the time slot, and we all had to show up. After working hours and paying our own ticket to drive. It was supposed to be a team-building exercise, and I could see the boss really liked race cars through the various pictures and trophies in his office. During the week, in anticipation to the event, boss would motivate/participate in setting the mood for the upcoming race. It was the only topic that week, and I was told by colleagues that this was really important. I knew that on the evening of the race, I had to pick up my girlfriend, and that would clash with the race, so a couple of days before, I told my supervisor that I would not attend the race. It was after hours and on my dime anyway, so I didn't think it would be a problem. Some 20 minutes later, I'm summoned to the boss office, and he's not looking happy. He tells me that building the team spirit is one of his priorities, and that I'm new there, so I was to give a lot of focus to this monthly event if I was to keep working there, because it was part of the core culture of the company. I really needed the job, so I just said, "Sure thing, boss." On the evening of the event, I drive to the kart track, and upon arrival, I see my colleagues all in jeans and t-shirts and my boss in full ballerina attire. He had racing overalls, racing boots, gloves, and even a custom helmet. It dawned on me the reason for the event and why so much attention was given to it. Kart racing was his thing. With about 15 racers, I asked to start dead last. Boss man listens to me talking and intervenes in front of everyone that we were there to race and not to just drive around slowly. Up until that point, I wasn't really paying much attention, but I decided to comply and show how much the core corporate culture was important to me. Starting from last, I proceeded to overtake all other karts, including boss man on the outside of a fast corner. Overtaking on the outside is often seen as a bold, arrogant move. After just a few more laps, I reached him again, and as I was about to lap him, he went into the pits and stepped out. I duly won the race, and as I left the track into the bar, the real team-building event, someone tells me that the boss had left. At the bar, the topic of the evening was how I had outraced everyone and how the boss, who had won all races since ever, was livid with my performance. Too bad for him. I guess I forgot to add to my resume that I had raced karts competitively as a kid, so I knew what I was doing and shattered his Ricky Bobby dreams. After that, I was always courteously invited but never again required to show up to his events. I went a few times but arrived late on purpose, so I would just take part on the bar thing and not the race. Last one is titled, "You don't want me to hold my child's arms down while you give him a shot? Okay." So this happened a few days ago at my child's 12-month checkup. A few things about my child is if he doesn't like something he smacks or headbutts. We're working on it. Another thing about my child is he does push-up and planks for fun. He's a pandemic baby. If you have one, you know. So when we're finishing up his checkup and the nurse comes in with his shots, I get my son on my lap and hold his arms like we've always done. If you don't know, they typically put shots in the leg. The nurse said, "Oh, no, don't hold him, just put him on the table." So I put him on the table flat and hold his arms. Nurse again, "You don't need to hold him down." "Are you sure?" "I always have, and he can get a little nasty." "I don't want him to headbutt you or something." Nurse with a bit of sass, "I've been doing this for years. I think I would know how to do my job. Just let him go so I can do it." "Okay." I stand next to the table as she does, the first one. My son is in shock, so he kinda just lays there. But he is prepared for the next one. I see him winding up. The second one goes in and the hand goes flying smack. I have to say she took it like a champ and goes in for a third. This is where she made the mistake. She turned to look at my son, and he saw his opportunity, bam, headbutt straight to the face. My kid starts crying, the nurse backs away. I apologize because I do feel bad, but I warned her. The nurse leaves the room and another comes in to finish the shots. This time, they let me hold him. Thanks for listening.